And today I would like to welcome my lovely guest, Rory Finch. Hi, Rory. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming along today.
Thanks, Elaine. Lovely to see you and hear you.
And so let's kick things off and introduce you to everybody. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do for a living.
Yeah, so hello everybody. So my name is Rory and I'm the owner of Move, which is a sports injury clinic and performance gym based up in Sheffield in England. We've been a limited company since May 2012. No, not 2012, 2022. And we opened up our facility up in Sheffield in the August. And we've just developed our team from just a busy self-employed therapist to a strong team of 8 now, I believe, ranging from massage therapists, personal trainers, running coaches, yoga teachers, and Pilates teacher as well.
Yeah, you've done phenomenal You've done really, really well. And so what sort of services do you offer, Rory? Just so everybody can hear all about it.
Yeah, so I guess the easiest way is to kind of divide it into two. So one part of the building is our kind of injury clinic. So we provide physiotherapy, assessments, screenings, we do sports massages, and on top of that, it's included in them. It tends to be some advanced methods around rehabilitation, whether it's hands-on or hands-off. And then and we also do like pre and postnatal therapy as well. And then in the gym, we have some classes on, ranging from Pilates and yoga. We also have kind of fitness and strength classes in there available. We have an elderly strength and balance class, which is great. And then we have our one-to-one kind of personal training, or also our kind of physiotherapy-led one-to-one sessions, which I guess is kind of like personal training, but it's more focused around the injury rehabilitation side. So that's pretty much.
Yeah.
I can't leave out the ice bath as well, which we'll need a cheeky plug in there.
Yes, the ice bath is very, very cool. And so what I always really liked about your service, Rory, is that you almost take, and correct me if I'm wrong in this summary, but you almost take the rehabilitation that's offered to like pro athletes and you give that to the normal day people. Mm-hmm. So we're not walking around with limps or sore hips or sore knees for the rest of our lives. Would you think that's a fair summary to make?
Yeah. It's all led from my kind of past experiences. So as a youth, I used to compete in boxing and rugby. And unfortunately, I sustained a pretty severe shoulder injury in rugby, which led to me dislocating my left shoulder, shattering my collarbone, tearing my AC joint. And being one of 8 kids, I could not get... my dad was definitely not paying for private physio, let's say. So we tried to go the normal route, but unfortunately, the stuff around the NHS, they're not qualified to help people get back to sport. They need to get you back to living and get you out the door and get the next person in. And that's where I kind of fell off the bandwagon and couldn't no longer compete in sport. And that kind of drove me to kind of move on and work in elite sports and training it. And then when it comes down to recreational sports, giving people that, elite level service to allow them to get over injuries quickly, get back to enjoying their life and being physically active and everything else that comes on the side of that. So yeah.
No, it's fantastic. I've always really liked that about your service, that it kind of brings a little bit of, I suppose what rich people and, can pay for and bring it to everyday folk, because lots of people walk around with injuries for years and years and years, don't they? Yeah. And like in pain, and they don't ever really get it sorted.
Yeah, no, and that's it. And I think, and that's often down to not having the knowledge or having the confidence to go and speak to someone. And there's a lot of people out there that maybe are using old traditional methods. And what we know now for a lot of the research, it's about looking at the individual and looking at where we can practically fit stuff in. Because what you might find in research, you can't do a 2-minute hold of a stretch in day-to-day person. One, they're busy, but also that's quite a severe way of stretching someone. So it's how we break these things down so they're more accessible to people and kind of build from there. So,
Fantastic.
You can tell I'm really passionate about it, can't you?
Yeah, I do. I love it. I love when people get into their flows talking about their passion. It's really nice to see. So this podcast is all about the twists and turns that life takes us and where we end up now. And those experiences shape us and they often shape the unique talents that we can offer the world. So, has there ever been a substantial life changing event that has happened to you that you would be happy to share with us today?
How long's the episode?
As long as we want.
I guess it depends how far you want to go. You know, I lost my dad when I was 17, which is probably one of the major, um, I guess, points. I've not had contact with my mother since I was 11.
Yeah,
So those have been kind of both pivotal moments, and that's probably what's led to me a lot of independence and driving myself to kind of be able to push forward through many things. And then I guess through that, the next main thing outside of university was then how we pivoted around kind of COVID-19 and working around those
yeah,
lockdowns, and being able to drive that business forward. And then the final part is obviously then scaling quite big to open up our own facility. So
yeah.
yeah,
And so if
dive
we
into it
go,
if you like.
if I know you've a real story of persistence and resilience there, Rory. And so if you're going to
Thank
go
you.
back to the start, and I suppose you were saying how, um, you know, losing your parents and that kind of then spurred you on to be more independent and I suppose put yourself through university. Was that the case at the time?
No, I wouldn't have dreamt of it. When
Okay.
I lost my dad, we was put into supported housing through a charity called NACRO, which were fantastic, and they weren't actually supposed to house us because they normally work with kind of juveniles and those in and out of, you know, being arrested and stuff like that. But they kind of thought actually these me and my younger brother needed a home pretty quick.
Yeah.
And so once we went back to there, went back into college, and with the help of my mentors at the time, they would just persistently give me work back and say you can do better than that, and it used to drive me up the wall. But
Okay.
just constantly driving, and just chipping away at trying to get better. Because my writing's never been too great, and obviously doing a lot of written work is difficult in that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they kind of helped push me, and they said you need to go to university. You don't need to stay around here. Like once you finish college, you're going to be out of really supported housing as such, and that's where it's going to get difficult. So
Yeah.
they just said go and throw the net and move on, and that's where I went up to Leeds and started university pretty much.
Wow. Okay. So if it had not been for the support of this charity, then you might not have
Mm.
ended up on the path you were on then.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
getting a roof over our head. I think it was the starting point, you know, and that's where my
Hmm.
aunts and uncles from my dad's side really helped at the start to push forward with that, and got us that kind of support.
Wow. I can't even imagine, Rory. It's giving me goosebumps just listening to your story. Like, yeah, I can't even imagine. And so, so where do you think the entrepreneurial spirit came from? Was that throughout university or was something
um,
else?
I think it was always dealt with. So growing up, my old man was not well, so that meant we was limited. He couldn't work, so he was quite ill. So we never had a lot of money coming in. So it got to a point, and we had to kind of pay our way to just to help him, look after us and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
from the get go, when we was younger, my dad used to be he used to fit fireplaces, so like make like brickwork fireplaces. This is what he used to do in his own business back in the day. So he's always doing odd bits and pieces in DIY, and that's where it really kind of started. So we always got us moving and not sitting in or laying in every morning on the weekends.
Yeah.
And then as we kind of grew up, then we started working part-time work and developing out of there. So I think that's where it always started. I was always kind of hands-on and physically active and wanted to keep busy. Whereas my two brothers
Yeah.
loved gaming more than I did. I couldn't stand it. It used to bore me. So yeah, that's I guess where the entrepreneurial part used to start. So I was always working whilst I was at kind of school and going through college, and then I guess experiencing when I was training at university, I was working with the Leeds Rhinos for about
Yeah.
18 months, and I was working in elite sports and just being in that room with like these high level rugby players. I think everyone will know here, Rob Burrow, obviously, who's fortunately got M&D now. I was actually
Yeah.
there working on his last year of him competing or playing in sport. So just being in that room was so buzzing. And then I was thinking like, I want to do better. I want to keep driving forward. And that's kind of what's happened post university as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So just being around those people that worked hard towards their dream kind of spurred you on to do
Mm-hmm.
the same. Good for
Mm-hmm.
you,
Yeah.
Rory. Good for you. And so, as you know, the type of work that I do is all about support, about supporting businesses. So, you've mentioned a few people there in your support network, but I mean, is there any other pivotal people within that network that you think if I had not had them, I might not be where I am today?
Do you count?
I
uh,
can count, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's a really hard thing to do because so many people and so many things. Obviously, I met you through a networking group, and we built our relationship from there. And lots of advice and dipping out, giving a hand has been amazing. But um, I've got clients of mine who have helped massively in support, whether it's been a bit of cash flow or paying up front for their services, just to kind of help us kind of grow. Um, yeah, it's crazy. I've got family members, I've got other businesses, I've got friends and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's loads of people out there
So there's
trying to
lots and
recruit
lots of
them.
people involved.
Yeah, I think I've always trying to kind of push hard and persevere and really make good relationships with a lot of people. And I think that's the foundation of being able to rely on other people to help you achieve a dream or a goal and stuff like that. And the more you keep giving, you'll get back in some way, right?
Yeah, I agree. I fully agree. Yeah. And so all that you've been through and all that you've achieved and all of the life lessons learned along the way, how has that changed the way you view your working life and how you run your business?
Um, So I guess one of the main things. So when my dad was in hospital, I saw him the night before he passed away. So I used to finish work. I was a carpenter when I actually left college before I retrained to do what I do now. So I'd finish work, go and see him, and we would chat. And he had his high days and his low days and stuff. And he wasn't very kind of too sentimental. He was a kind of East End Londoner, tough cookie kind of thing, hard love. Um,
Yeah,
but the kind of last conversations we had was kind of just don't settle for a mediocre lifestyle and don't stay in a job that you don't enjoy. And that's the kind of main things that stood out. But the other thing is he kind of said, "Oh, I love you, son," and I was like, "Why are you saying that for? You don't like just kind of bugger off kind of thing." I went home, but I think he knew that night that was his time. But yeah, the main thing was don't settle for a mediocre lifestyle and don't settle for a job that you don't love. And I think that's why I've pretty much been self-employed as soon as I finished university. Was I want to have my own lifestyle and set the own factors that I want to do, and you got to fight the beast that comes with that, I guess, right?
yeah, you do. You do. I think lots of people don't see the struggle behind the scenes, do they, when it takes for
Mm.
growing a business? They
No,
don't see all the
definitely not.
sacrifice and the late nights and
Hmm.
yeah, looking at the cash flow and it being on a minus. Yeah,
You're
all of
like, oh, it's
those.
getting sweaty now.
I
But
know,
yeah,
all
I
of
think
those things.
those it all has a key part into it, and I think those that who are in business or scared to make that first jump, it's that fear. But you always look at yourself and what's the worst that can happen? People are going to say no, you're going to get set back, and then you just have to regroup, pick yourself up, and go again. And I think I've had to do that many times in my
Yeah,
life so far, and I'm only 28, so I always think like there's going to be a lot more ups and downs coming my way in the future, and I've done many hard tasks and challenges, both physically and mentally, and so I think that kind of gives you that backbone to know you can kind of persevere for anything in life.
yeah, yeah. I think your story definitely screams loud and clear about that, that you are a
Mm.
person who can pick themselves up in the worst situation and keep
Hmm.
going. And I guess that armed you then when COVID-19 hit, as you mentioned there about having to
Hmm.
work through all the lockdowns. You were already
Hmm.
prepared for it from what life had thrown at you previously.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, there's a lot of business had struggled, and
Mm,
I was in my final year of my master's degree, so I was having to try and do my dissertation, which was sucking the soul out of me, and then I was having to restructure how I could work as a sports therapist to provide injury assessments, to provide screening and rehabilitation tools, and luckily being online allowed us to do that. So we was doing everything under the
yeah,
sun just to try and bring a little cash coming through to keep the business going, but also how to kind of um, set the boundaries when we're coming out of it, because we didn't know how long it was going to be, did we?
No, we didn't. No, it was lots of unknown, wasn't it?
But I think, with the hard work that we did and we persevered, was doing online classes, was doing free sessions. I was screening people all over the world through Zoom, which was pretty crazy. So people in Egypt and Thailand and
Wow.
stuff that had just been seeing us online, um, allowed us to open up a different kind of service that we could do, and know that I didn't have to be fully hands-on with a lot of people. It just, using the knowledge in regression models and stuff like that, we could kind of adapt through most things. So
Okay.
when we came out of COVID, it was absolutely swamped in person. It was crazy, and I think that's just because
Yeah.
we showed that we cared for people, and we wanted to keep kind of. They needed us a lot more and I needed them. I think during COVID. So as long as we was there for them,
Yeah.
um, it set that kind of, I guess, idea that we're here to stay.
Yeah. And so do you think that how you had to pivot and adapt during COVID, that has then helped shape the service that you offer today? I think you've kind of got a bit of a hybrid model these days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're pushing on online and offline. I think is the important thing. Like, people still want that face to face contact, and it's so important. I mean, having just with a lot of clients, just having that hands on touch with them, and giving them that security and explaining things and showing them I've got crazy drawings on the whiteboard here and different anatomy bits and pieces next to me. They don't get these in their traditional physio appointments because time's
Mm.
limited.
Yeah.
And, and so that's where people tend to come here, because they've been on loads of waiting lists. They can't get advice that they need, and sometimes it's not really individualized to that certain individual. It's just printed off a piece of paper and come back. So that's something that we really do take care of. So lots of people do like 20-minute sessions or 30-minute sessions, but I think the value in our sessions is having that time for the individual to really open up and share their story and what they're really
Yeah.
struggling with. And then, okay, once we've taken that subjective information, now let's look at the injury. And that's just a very small part of it. There's often what happens in life around that goes on. So that then carries on to our online stuff. So we'll do a consultation. I'll go and create a program around it. And then we have an app that we deliver our kind of rehab kind of programs and video demonstrations in, with a chat feature in there. And then we just do regular check-ins on the way. It's a lot more convenient for a lot of people, and
Yeah.
that can just be a really good way to kind of grow the business a bit more.
Yeah. And proof's in the pudding, right? Look how far you've come
Mm-hmm.
in the last, you just had your
Yeah,
first business birthday in
we
your new
did.
premises. Yeah. So you
Yeah,
survived the first year, which is the hardest by any means.
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. Everyone keeps saying that, and I'm like, well, I'm ready for that 10 years now. But
Yeah,
you've got to grow with it, haven't you? Um,
you do have to grow with it. You have to grow and adapt, and it's not always easy. It's easier to say it than
mm-hmm,
do it, isn't it? A lot of the time.
mm-hmm,
And
yeah.
so, in all the experience that you've had, and where you are today, do you have
Mm-hmm.
one piece of advice for our listeners out there?
Throwing me on the spot there, haven't you? Um, I, I just I think it's break the fear. And so a big motto I say to a lot of people is imperfection is perfection. And we can
Mm,
often spend so much time on trying to make that post look that real, like, perfect, or that email to look absolutely amazing, or um, or wanting to set everything out in alignment before you get going. And I think, as much as that's great, you waste a lot of time and a lot of energy. And by the time you've got there, you've probably missed a week, a month, a quarter of where you could have just got going and just
yeah,
getting out there. So that's my first bit. And the other thing is get out and kind of meet people and share your passion and give free advice. I think
yeah,
these are
yeah.
maybe the 3 points rather than the 1 point that you wanted.
No, I think they're fantastic pieces of advice, Rory. I really do. And like, I knew bits of your story before, but I never knew the in-depth side of
Mm-hmm.
it. And wow, like, I just think you're absolutely phenomenal to be where you are today after everything
Thank
that
you.
life is throwing at you. You really, really are. And you also do quite a lot of charity work as well. I've
Mm-hmm.
noticed. So where,
Yeah. Go on.
what? what kind of fuels you to do that? Is it just to give back, or is it another
Yeah, I
reason?
think without we had Natco Services, which really helped us as well. But there's a lot of people out there that struggle, and you know, if we can put ourselves through a relatively short time of pain to bring awareness and provide for other people, then I think whilst we're able to do that, I think it's important. So one of the main charities that we support is Endeavour, which are a young adults career and kind of personal development charity. They're based in
Yeah,
Sheffield, and we really kind of hit off with those guys. And again, they do not I guess similar things, but they provide. So they get kids coming in who are maybe refugees, or they've got those that are struggling in school and not getting the right kind of I guess support because maybe they're just really kind of in a really sticky situation at home or personally. So they've
yeah,
got a GCC facility where they can train the kids in a different environment, but also the use of outdoors to kind of I guess educate these kids on what's out there and putting them through small challenges and stuff like that. And I think it's such a great thing to do. And being an independent charity, they've had their struggles,
yeah,
so there's a group of friends, and then we've also had clients and stuff that have done some challenges over the years. It helps us get
yeah. And
together.
I said,
Being Go on.
yeah, yeah. And I suppose they're training for it, so they could need to come to someone that can help them get over all the aches and pains from training.
Yeah, I sometimes
Yeah.
regret that as well because I just get peppered with messages and stuff all the time. Um, but no, it's all part and parcel. And yeah, and so I guess it helps me. I learned so we tend to do a different sport. So we did the Yorkshire Free Peaks. We've done the National Free Peak Challenge. We all did a marathon last year, which was horrendous. Um, and we're actually just queuing up to do a cycling challenge next year. So we're just going through the foundations of doing it. And what better to do than make the most of our bodies when they're nice and subtle and recover quite quickly,
Yeah,
and also raise a bit of money and awareness for charities like that. So yeah, I think the importance is kind of giving back when we can and helping the next generation come through because they're not going to be having it. They're not having it easy, I guess, growing through, are they?
no, 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 I completely agree. Honestly, Roy, you're just a phenomenal person. You deserve nothing but good things. You really do. And
Thank
all
you.
the success that you see today is definitely down to all your hard work and commitment. So well done. Massive well done
Thank
to
you.
you.
Thank you.
And so if people want to get in touch with you or find out more about your amazing business, how do they do that?
So we're pretty much everywhere. I'd say
Mm,
we've got a website. So it's made2move.co.uk, and the two is the number two in there. And we're pretty much on social media. So kind of the main ones: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and then obviously we've got our Google business as well that we're pushing forward as well. That's our main kind of contact. But if anyone's got kind of questions or anything like that, they're more than free to kind of contact us. So I'll give you our contact details in the show notes. Go
wonderful.
from there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Rory. Like, I've really, really enjoyed hearing your story. I've had to stop myself, hold back the tears in a few spots. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for listening, everybody.